Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a busy night. Pirates gave up 47 runs in 3 games to the Cubs. We'll talk also about yesterday's decision at State College. The field goal when a touchdown and going for it on 4th down was the clear move. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the Steelers, who have now gone off to an 0-2 start after losing the home opener today. We'll break it down for you. Here to do that is your panel. From left to right, we have Will Graves, great journalist with the Associated Press. To the left, in the middle, it's Mark Kaboly, beat writer for the Steelers for The Athletic. And to the right, from the DVE pregame show for the Steelers radio network, as well as Trib Live, it's Mr. Tim Benz. All right, so we'll start with you, Mr. Benz. 0-2. How deep is this hole for this football team?
Really big, because now they got to go on the road and play San Francisco. Is off to a good start. They stink on the West Coast. The mitigating or the magnifying circumstance is Ben Roethlisberger's injury. If you had said 0-2 with one of the losses being out of conference, I'd be less concerned if I knew that the quarterback's arm was going to be fine, but I don't know that right now after a non-contact injury. So what do you think about it, Bob? They really didn't come back from 0-1 a season ago. At least one of these games is out of conference. One of those was in division, so I guess that offsets it some. But I'm concerned, and Ben said this, Stephon Tuitt said this in the locker room today. Ben said it earlier in the week. Well, this has happened to us before. Just look back when we were 0-4 to start the season. Yeah, you didn't make the playoffs, and you might not do it now either.
I think they're in a huge hole, to be honest with you, just because they're not playing very well at all. In the past, I mean, even if they didn't win a couple games, at least there was some semblance of you could pick out of them playing well somewhere. What part of this team is playing well right now? You can't even
Chris
say
Boswell.
Moncrief. Yeah, Boswell. That's about it. The biggest thing, the biggest question mark coming in. And with Roethlisberger, typically I would just be, he's coming back. He's a tough guy. He's coming back. But this is something he can't tough his way out of. If you can't throw the ball, you can't throw the ball. So that's troublesome. And the defense is troublesome as well. Benzie said they're going out on the West Coast. I think the last time they won in San Francisco, Oakland, or Seattle was like 1993. It's a big problem. And this is just the most ill-prepared team I've seen through 2 weeks, and even back to the 0-4 days of the season. This team is just not playing well right now in all phases.
I don't know. I mean, 0-2 is not a big problem as much as 0-3. I think 0-3, you can start getting the shovels out. I mean, I'll be honest with you. And they haven't won there since '99. Kaboly, I looked it up, in San Francisco. I just think that I don't think the defense was lights out for the first quarter and a half, and then all of a sudden, Wilson started getting rid of the ball quicker. They couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop the runs when they had to. It was a problem. Nobody's great. But I don't think they're awful, but let's be honest. I mean, I don't think they have a lot of wiggle room, and I think it's all but gone. And now you're going to ask your quarterback, whoever it's going to be, to go and win in a place you haven't won in 20 years against a team that, by the way, looks pretty darn good. So I think they're in a tight spot.
Yeah, George Kittle already has 2 touchdowns. Start him in fantasy. He's already got 2 touchdowns, 3 catches, and 54 yards, and they're still a week away from kicking.
Mark, I want to ask you this now, because we're talking about the quarterback. Don't know what Ben Roethlisberger is going to be like. We do know he has an MRI scheduled. But Paul Zeiss of the Post-Gazette didn't hesitate, saying this should be Mason Rudolph's team for the rest of the season. Your reaction to that?
I love Zeiss. Zeiss is a great man. Zeiss is absolutely, what is he talking about? He's just absolutely, I don't know. I don't know what Zeiss is talking about, but that's not the case. I mean, you're not going to win many games. I mean, we're talking about game 2, game 3 right now. I can see if we're at game 7 or 8 and they're 2-7 or whatever, then maybe make that call right now. But it's not like Mason Rudolph came in there and lit up the show against Seattle. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And mostly because it would never happen. Neither should it happen. So, Zeiss, you're great, but I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I might want to save that thought for later in the season, because even though those guys who mentioned, 2013, earlier that I talked about, they didn't make the playoffs, but at least Roethlisberger and the rest of the team managed to buoy themselves to the point that they were 8-8. They were a Ryan Suckup missed field goal away from actually making it. So I don't know if that happens if Rudolph is the quarterback the rest of the way. Yeah, I mean, if the greater point is get Rudolph as much action as you can and hopefully does a good job, and you can, allow Roethlisberger to come back at his own pace, okay, but I'm not ready to just shelve Roethlisberger for the season with 14 games left to go.
I mean, if this was a Nick Birdie situation where Ben, like, arm basically falls off, like that, I'm fine with giving Mason the job. But the bigger concern here is, I mean, they just, I mean, not a bigger concern than Ben's injury, but I mean, think about this. If Ben can't play and you've got our boy Duck Dynasty now as a backup quarterback after the Steelers decided to trade Josh Dobbs earlier in the week, that, I mean, I know we're sort of putting the cart before the horse there, but let's be honest. I mean, it was a matter of time with Ben in terms of he's 37 years old. They can't do it forever. Look, I hope he's fine. I remember being on here 3 years ago and we kind of called Ben a drama queen and it turned out he was actually hurt. So I'm not going to make that mistake again. But I just think that giving the team to Rudolph just because is silly. It's misguided, and it's one of those things you write 5 minutes after a game. I mean, I just think it's all due respect as ice. This one's wrong.
All right, let's talk about the wide receiving situation because it is not right now. Tim, I want to get into Dante Moncrief, who has now 5 drops. Today he did not return and should never have returned today. He was appropriately benched for that because that interception was not on Mason Rudolph. What do they do with him, and how does it affect this wide receiver rotation moving forward?
Last week I called him Football Broussard. This week I think it's more like Derek Bell, Lonnie Chisenhall, Morgan Burnett all rolled into one. Ladarius Green, he is one of the worst acquisitions I've seen the Steelers get, and I don't know how long, and it hasn't been that long because of those names I just referenced. John Bostic, throw him into the mix too. If you look at Mason Rudolph's numbers, I think if, let's just assume that, I don't know, on the next play after Moncrief makes that catch in the sidelines, Connor fumbles and the ball goes back over to the Seahawks. But if he makes that reception and doesn't have that turn into an interception, I think like Rudolph's passer rating is like 112 or something like that. I mean,
122, I think.
It was 122? Yeah. All right, so yeah, it's even better than that. But that's how costly that play was. It goes right back over the Seahawks. And from what I understand, his finger is not 100%. If it's not 100%, it's costing him to look this bad. He should not be playing. I know he wants to play, but he shouldn't be playing. Same thing with Anthony Chickillo and his plantar fasciitis, his heel injury, whatever it is. If that's bothering him to the point that he couldn't make that tackle, then he shouldn't be playing either. Some of these guys might just be too hurt to play.
But what makes you believe that anybody behind Moncrief is ready to step it up?
Exactly.
That's
But I don't know that, but I know they can't be worse.
Well, I don't know. They're
He's
not
got a
getting on the
50% drop percentage, Mark.
Well, what I'm saying is that the options are limited right now. If James Washington was ready to go and ready to make a name for himself and contribute, he would be out there. Deontay Johnson would be out there. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm curious. I mean, I haven't gotten a real good sense of why Washington isn't playing. They say he's not ready. I look at him in practice, and he makes plays in practice.
And every time he's in a game, he makes plays too.
With one hand than Moncrief made with both the whole season.
I mean, the thing with Moncrief is if he was a guy, if he was a Martavis Bryant type, where you know what, if he drops a few, but we can hit him for 70 yards down the field once every couple of games, then, but that's not his history. His catch percentage, his completion percentage is like some career, something like 55 to 60% in terms of targets actually caught, which isn't great. So if he's not going to be a dynamic playmaker for you, then I think Washington should have been the number 2 last week. I think they almost had to justify signing him as a free agent, and he's an experienced guy. And you know who else isn't doing anything? Ryan Switzer, I mean, a great kid. He is doing nothing. He has contributed nothing. If you're going to be that guy, you got to do something. If you're going to be the guy that catches the ball at the line of scrimmage, you got to be able to get by people, and he's not doing it.
I think what we're overlooking at is the trickle-down effect here, too. These guys, these 2, 3s, and 4s, are not helping Juju out whatsoever. And Juju needs some help right now. As you can see, he's not putting up those huge numbers, those big chunk plays, those splash plays. Is it because of him? No, it's not because of him. I think he needs some help from Dante Moncrief, from James Washington. So I think it's just a whole big bag of worms there when the 2, 3, and 4 guys are not making plays. And Tomlin, Fichtner have said that. They're just not making any plays.
Yeah, and don't forget about Vance McDonald for an entire chunk of the game, too. They started strong with him. They finished strong with him. And he kind of even though he was being evaluated for a concussion, he played the entire game, but for about 2 quarters, I don't know where he was.
All right, we're due for a break here. When we come back, though, we'll continue the conversation on the Steelers. Also talk about the controversial pass interference. Who knows what that's going to be as this season progresses. But I want to remind you, football season is underway, as you know, so pick up a new #1 Cochran Chevy now and be ready for those tailgate parties and road trips. And you better get there fast. #1 Cochran Chevrolet's amazing buy and lease specials. They won't be around long, so get the best offers of the season on all the big-name Chevy players, including Silverado, Traverse, Malibu, you name it, they got it. only at the new #1 Cochran Chevrolet Cranberry, formerly Kenny Ross, or visit CochranChevrolet.com. We'll be right back. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran, Go One Better, and by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.